Okay, I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, and the mercy of the predecessors, transmitters, temple masters, and lecturers for giving me this opportunity to talk about today's topic, which is about the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. Okay, so I have an outline here if you guys want to copy later on, but it's about a 4.5 page, 5-page outline. Okay, so give you the background. Okay, so this period, the period of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, it's a prehistorical period, okay, of ancient art, generally acknowledged to be between this time frame, which is, pretty early. So this is just as a frame of reference, right? Make a comparison. This is roughly the ancient Egypt, the time of the first 3 or 4 dynasties, at least the first 4 or 5 dynasties. Ancient Egypt, when this is before the Great Pyramids, okay? Even before the Great Pyramids, okay? This is the first. It's called what's that? In the Upper Nile, during what's that place? Not Luxor, the other place. Where they discover tombs that's built into the cliff walls along the Nile. I forgot the name of that place. Doesn't matter. The first several dynasties. I think it's the first either first 5 to 10 dynasties. They have their pyramids, or quote unquote pyramids, there. Then it's later on they move to the lower Nile. Upper means close to the source, right? Lower means closer to the ocean. Then they later on move their capital or their civilization towards what we call present day the Giza Plain, or Cairo is there. Okay, that's the last half of the. I think ancient Egypt had also 25 or 25 or something dynasties, pretty far. Just as a very similar, China has 24 dynasties. Okay, but this is before them. This is before the 24 dynasty. Okay, that's why I say period predates the legendary first Shah dynasty, which the Shah dynasty is roughly this period, which is roughly towards the end of Egypt's, I think, 9th to 12th dynasty, something like that, something like that. Okay, all right. So roughly. Okay, and also this, by the way, predates the Trojan War. So those of you who are familiar with Homer and the Trojan War, etc., Agamemnon, what's that? Helen of Troy, whatever. Okay, if you guys seen the movie, whatever. Okay, or read the book. I remember, it's like the Iliad by Homer, right? It's like a must-read for high school, just about. It's a required course material, right? Reading in English, right? I remember, right? So this predates that, because the Iliad happened around 11 to 1200 BC, roughly, which is the Bronze Age. So this period really predates the Bronze Age, okay? Or it's entering into the Bronze Age. So when we talk about the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, it predates the Bronze Age even, okay? Because it's around this period. So it's roughly the end of the what we call Neolithic age, according to historians, and pre-Bronze Age. Okay, so it's that transitional period. Okay, believe it or not. Okay, so they haven't invented. I think the bronze was supposedly discovered. I don't know. Some of the earliest examples is in the Middle East, someplace. I don't know, but it's after 2000 BC, roughly. It's around this period. The Shah dynasty, roughly the Shah dynasty. Okay, that's okay. So now also that period there was no written language, no formal system of Chinese writing yet. They do have, which I'll get to detail later, when we talked about the 3 sovereigns, like the very beginnings or early, you can say prototypes, proto-forms of writing. Proto-system, proto-forms, whatever, of writing. And it's very much like a picture. It's just like drawing a picture. So it's similar to like hieroglyphics, right? Which is like a picture, more or less, okay? And also it predates the earliest dynasty, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, now, because of these conditions, because there's no real official written language during that period, So therefore there are no archaeological evidence. You know what I'm saying? Of that period. Okay. So unfortunately, so there are several variations of this group. Believe it or not, of 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. Okay. So there are eight figures, eight historical figures. All right. So one of the earlier sources is called the Siben. You guys know what Siben is? The Book of Origin. That's one of the it's one of the earliest encyclopedia of origins, which is referenced by texts written in the Han Dynasty almost 2,000 plus years, 2,400, 500 years ago, later. See, so this is an indirect evidence, okay? So during the Han Dynasty, which is the Western Han Dynasty, this period, there was a book called Book of Origins. It's like it's one of the earliest encyclopedia type of books. It's like like a book of knowledge. Like you have today you go to the library encyclopedia. Pick I don't know, volume 1 to 25, 30. A to Z, right? That's what encyclopedia is, and it's any topic from A to Z, right? That this of course predates our internet, right? Google search, right? So this was a book of origin which mentioned, written around this period, roughly, around this period, roughly, okay? They do mention, these ancient sovereigns, the three different sovereigns, or the several different sovereigns and several different emperors, okay? So this is indirect evidence, okay? Even though, there was no hard archaeological evidence. Another this is more famous, more well known. It's called the Records of the Grand Historian, or Soo-Ji, right? Soo-Ji, 这个yeah, 历史的史, that's right, 史记, yeah, 史记, or Records of the Scribe by famous Sima Qian, okay, very famous. He's a Chinese historian, among others. I mean, he's very, maybe even philosopher, whatever. He's a court historian. You can say that, okay. So he wrote this Records of the Grand Historian, because he's a historian, court historian, during this Han Dynasty, towards the end of the Han Dynasty, okay, or the second half, anyway. Okay, he also mentioned the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, okay. So now, historians debate this because, supposedly Sima Qian and whoever wrote the Book of Origins, or the Book of Origins was not by one person. Supposedly, it's a lot of different scholars or whatever compiled a lot of information, or based on also indirect evidence, because they based on certain records, passed on, or either by oral tradition, So once again, it's like second, third, fourth hand information or knowledge. Get it? Okay. So that's why the dates, like the years of these different sovereigns and emperors, can be off. So it's hard. So when I did a lot of research, I was comparing different sources, and the periods. It's like it's a range. Okay. So okay. So it's very all right. So it's not easy. Then there's another source. There are many sources, but I'm just listing 3 for now. Another source called the Bamboo Annals. It's called, in Chinese, it's called 竹. 竹 means bamboo. 书 本经, or something like that. Okay. It was written before this, so it even predates some of these, other books. Okay, books are on records. Okay, and it's a chronicle. It's a chronicle of ancient China, but it only started with the reign of the Yellow Emperor. Okay, so it did not mention Fuxi. It did not mention Shenlong. Okay, those two, historical figures, but they did mention the Yellow Emperor. Okay, so if different, so once again, it's all, different people, different scholars during different period, roughly, 2,500 years after the period of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, that those historians or scholars from, different groups, mention that, okay? So, and they have different dates, different characters, and who knows, okay? So once again, so it's all based on that, okay? All right. And collectively, the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors are the first 8 patriarchs of the Green Era in this lineage of Tao. Okay, okay. So that's and that's a separate topic, obviously. We know that the lineage of Tao is basically happen towards the end of the Wu Hui, right? The phase called Wu, right, which is the 12 o'clock position between 12 and 1. 12 and 1 o'clock. It's not 1 o'clock. It's before it. It's like the last like 3 or 4,000 years. Almost 5. Roughly 4,500 years. The last 4,500 years of the Hui, the Wu phase, which is roughly, you can say, because each phase is 10,000 years, right? 10,800. So it's the last half, roughly the last half. So it's like the 12:30 position, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock position on the clock. Get it? So that's roughly the green period. Yeah, rough. Green, actually red is part of that too. But anyway, okay? All right, so that's fine. Okay, so now let's get to the three sovereigns. Okay, they're sometimes known as the three August. That means the three, August means very, how can I say? Very renowned, very distinguished, respected, well-respected, revered, you can say revered ones, okay? Because in Chinese, the word Huang, okay? It's the, Huang means very noble, very, respected, that, okay? Huang. So the Chinese character for emperor is Huang Di. Actually, Di is emperor. Actually, Di, which we'll talk about later, which is the 5 emperors. Di means emperor or king. Sometimes they used to represent king. Huang means it's very, like you're very awesome, very great, like very great. So it's like the great king, great emperor when you use the title. Okay, Huang Di together. Now, during this period, they never used the title together. Okay, those two words together, Huang and Di. It only started, that usage only started later, much later on, after the warring period, okay, when Qin Shi Wang, right? Qin Shi Wang, you can say the founder of the Qing dynasty, called the Qing dynasty, roughly 50 BC, roughly 300 BC, around that time, okay? He proclaimed himself, self-proclaimed, Huang Di, meaning august emperor or something like that, or awesome emperor, something like that, okay, the title. Because that guy is very arrogant, okay, and very ambitious, right? It's Qin Shi Wang. He wanted to compare, because during the warring period, this is right after Confucius, which is actually during the time of Mencius, and roughly right after the time of Buddha in India, okay, the warring period. There's an overlap, okay? All right? So China was fragmented. There were many warring states. First there were dozens, okay? Then it consolidated into 7, and then later, I think 3, and then later Qin Shi Wang took all over. So he unified, you can say, quote unquote, he unified, back then the China to, let's say, what the Zhou dynasty was before it, okay? All right? So therefore, he declared himself an emperor. But he wanted to place himself higher than the previous emperors. So he used the title Huang Di. Make sense? Okay? Because during the period of the Zhou dynasty, the Shang dynasty before it, and even the Xia dynasty before it, none of them used the title. None of those rulers or emperors during those 3 dynasties used the term Huang Di. They only used the word Di or king. Okay? So he, that's why Qin Shi Wang, the first quote unquote emperor of the Qing dynasty, was very arrogant, proud, okay, and very ambitious. So he used that title. Okay? So just to let you know. So Huang means august, means great, magnificent. You can say magnificent, great, okay? And also these 3 sovereigns are like consider some of them are like, almost like deity kings, that like they are like, I won't say non-humans or something like, they're like gods, similar to, the ancient mythologies of the West, such as Greece or even, Mesopotamia, the Babylonians, the what's that? Who preceded the Babylonians? I forgot the term, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Not the Persians; they came after. Babylonians. What preceded? Before Babylonia. That's like Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel, Book of Daniel. That's Babylonia. Before Babylonia, I forgot. Or during Egypt, even during Egypt. A lot of the ancient, like the first dynasty, second dynasty, the early dynasty pharaohs, quote unquote pharaohs, they're considered God kings. Yeah, they're considered God kings. Like they represent certain gods. I forgot some of the names of the gods. Like the god of, the god of, and it doesn't matter. There's a term. It doesn't matter. Okay, so it's very similar. Okay, all right. So now, what's interesting about is that these deity kings have special abilities or knowledge, okay, and they use that to rule the people and to teach their subjects, certain things, okay, like how to improve their lives, etc., etc. And so that's like you can say the early beginnings of what we call civilization. Okay, not just culture, but civilization. Okay, all right, because they have advanced knowledge of, you can say science, agriculture, music, astronomy, mathematics, etc., etc. Okay, all right. So let's talk about the first deity king or the first sovereign. Okay, he is Fuxi. Right? He's called Fuxi. Okay, he's also known as called Baoxi, that's another name, okay? Now, supposedly, depending on what source, okay, like I mentioned, all these different sources, okay? There are many more sources, but I just use pick 3, okay? There are like at least a dozen different sources, okay? Which just gets more confusing. They say generally he lived anywhere from 3000 BC to 29. So, so roughly. And he lived for roughly about at least this many years, supposedly, okay? So we don't know. So he was pretty long life compared to us humans today. I mean, compared to average lifespan today. All right. So he lived roughly. So you're talking about 5,000 plus years right now, right? Even this. Okay, if you counted this, you add another 2018, 19. It's about almost 5,000 years. Okay. So roughly about 5,000 years ago. Okay, Fuxi existed. Now he also considered by many scholars as many people cultural hero in the Chinese legend and mythology. Culture hero meaning someone, it's like once like a lot of ancient cultures have similar culture heroes, okay? Even the ancient Babylonians, what the heck is his name? That culture hero, I forgot the name. Yeah, Gilgamesh. There's another one. Jason and the Argonauts, stuff like that. No, but that came later. Jason and the Argonauts came later. But Gilgamesh is very early. Yeah, very early. As a matter of fact, they say some of the supposedly biblical stories in the Old Testament about Noah and the Ark were borrowed from the story of Gilgamesh. Okay, supposedly. Okay, I mean, who knows? Or even ancient India, the story of what's that famous the Bhagavad Gita, okay? Bhagavad Gita, which talks about ancient Hindu king, godlike kings or whatever, okay? Okay, so it's very similar, okay? All right, okay? So those are all cultural heroes, okay? Okay, so according to one legend, he was the grandson of Pangu. Now, see, this is really talk about mythology. Pangu was considered the creation deity in Chinese mythology. That Pangu, this deity like non-human or semi-human, whatever, semi-god, demigod, they call it. He was the one who created heaven and earth. He was the one who supposedly, I don't know, like once he stood up, he basically separated heaven and earth. And then when he quote unquote died, his body turned into the earth, the mountains, the rivers, etc., etc. I mean, that's the story, okay? That's the mythology, okay? So supposedly the one legend is that, Fuxi was his grandson. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Okay, that's one. And also, according to the same legend, Pangu has a twin sister. Oh, no, sorry. Is it Pangu? Yeah, Fuxi had a twin sister called Nuwa. Now, Nuwa is also Nuo Liang Liang. That's another. Yeah, that's the same figure, supposedly. And this figure is also mentioned in the later on, much later in literature, called Investiture of the Gods. Okay, Investiture, 封神榜. You know that? Yeah, 封神榜, which is a Ming dynasty. Is it Ming dynasty? Yeah, Ming dynasty. Ming Dynasty, not trilogy. What's the word I want to use? I forgot the name. Okay, the term. Like Homer's trilogy, Iliad, Odyssey. Not trilogy. It's called the Iliad, Odyssey. Those type of stories. Okay, books. Gilgamesh, the epics. Yeah, the epics of Gilgamesh. Epic. Okay. So anyway, that's another. Okay, now Fuxi is also credited with starting the Changjie system of writing, which is basically like pictograph or calligraphy. Okay, so he started that. Okay, now so remember, like I said, there was no systematic writing system yet, but he supposedly started the first early beginnings of this quote unquote written language. Okay, system. All right. I'll talk about item F later, okay? So, now, Fuxi supposedly did, as a cultural hero, he taught, the people a lot of different things. First, he taught people how to cook with fire. They already have fire, but I guess they don't cook, but he cooked with fire, yeah, supposedly. How to fish with nets, believe it or not. How to hunt with weapons made of bone, wood, or bamboo, okay? Supposedly, yeah. Taught people to hunt, basically to fish and hunt. They don't have farming yet. They're not at that level yet. Not that level of advancement. Because, according to historians, anthropologists, whatever, the early beginnings of Homo sapiens during the Neolithic age, people were hunter-gatherers. They didn't know how to farm yet, or domesticate wild animals. None of that yet. They just basically, hey, find a tree with fruits or berries, they pick and eat them. And if they have animals, they trap animals or whatever, go after animals to kill for meat, stuff like that, okay? So very primitive, okay? All right? So that period, okay? He also supposedly established the institution of marriage. Yeah, really, you would not think, wow, that's pretty advanced. They know about marriage. Wow, what's that? That concept, the concept of marriage, okay? Okay, and then began the ritual of, sacrificial offerings to heaven. And supposedly he was also a co-inventor, depending on the source, of a musical instrument called guqin. It's like a zither. It's supposedly, it could be up to 15 strings or some even more, 20 strings, generally, it's like a zither. Anybody know what a zither is? Yeah, it's like a, I don't know what you call it. It's a string instrument, okay? Yeah, it's a horizontal string instrument, with multi-strings. It could be as few as 4 strings. I think it could go up to 10, 12. I forgot. Many strings, okay? Supposedly he was a co-inventor of that. So that proves that, my God, during that primitive period, roughly 5,000 years ago, they have time to make musical instruments. It's kind of weird, it's hard to fathom, that these guys are quote unquote primitive, they don't even have a written language. They probably just growl at each other or something. I don't know, point or growl at each other. And so how would they create music? It's kind of like a big leap. You know what I'm trying to say? Because music, most people say, hey, if a culture developed music, they're semi-civilized. They're on the path towards civilization. They're not barbarians, in other words. They're not barbarians who don't know how to, play music, beat the drum or something. But then that's not true. Think about it. Even in other parts of the world, ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, even Europe, they found evidence of even ancient Neolithic people made musical instruments out of bones. Out of bones. Even the Aboriginals of Australia, made pipes out of, I don't know, bones of animals or certain wood, tree branches or whatever. I don't know, barks or turtle shells or whatever. They discovered that all over the world. So it's not unreasonable, okay, to think that, hey, in China, ancient China, during the roughly 5,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, those quote unquote primitive people were able to make musical instrument, and it kind of makes sense because someone said they want to emulate the sounds of nature. Yeah, that's true because I'm sure they wake up in the morning, they hear the birds sing, stuff like that, or the sound of the wind breeze through a forest. Yeah, or the waves of the ocean or whatever. So it seems reasonable that even those primitive people maybe they don't even have a written language yet, okay? Written language yet, or official speaking words, whatever. At least they try to imitate the sounds or the melodies. You can say the melodies of nature, and that became music. Get it? So they found ways of punching holes in a bone, for example, and somebody maybe accidentally decided to blow through the hole and come and just say, hey, it produces different sounds, different notes, whatever. Okay, so it's not too unreasonable, even though they don't have words, even though they don't have a music sheet, okay, score sheet. What's that? The what's that? Treble clef, the what's that? The bass clef, the minor, major, all that sophisticated stuff, okay? All that, what call that? Octaves, right? Whatever, okay? Wow, it's confusing, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's more sophisticated, okay? But it's not unreasonable, okay? So then, also, now this is what he's better known for, is that he discovered the yin-yang concept of the cosmos, the notion of duality or relativity. Yeah, really. Very interesting. Now, this goes to show, supposedly, now this is based on some of the sources that's written, okay, about Fuxi, that supposedly Fuxi, he looked at the heaven, okay, and saw the marvelous, images, the stars, the galaxies, whatever, okay, the stars of the Milky Way, whatever, and then he looked down at the earth, and then he had that moment of epiphany, and he realized, whoa, there's yin and yang, there's positive and negative, that everything is relative or whatever, okay? They're opposites, okay? So that's how he came out. And then so next item is, therefore he originated the notion of what we call the I Ching. Supposedly he was the first, you can say, person who came with the theory, you can say theories or ideas of the I Ching. Now, that was supposedly attributed to his reading of there's a Yellow River map called He Tu. Yeah, that's it's very mysterious. Supposedly, it has some diagrams or something like, and then so according to this tradition, okay, yeah, he saw like certain, I don't know if it's geometric symbols or something on the back of some animal, okay, supposedly that came out of this river, okay, and so it was that supposedly it was a mythical dragon horse. Some say it was a tortoise that emerged from him, okay. So he based from those markings, he got the idea of using the 8 trigrams to represent them. Oh, that's a big leap, okay, all right. So that became you can say the genesis, the foundation of the notion of the I Ching, the Ba Gua. Okay, so that's the 8 tri. And then the ones he uses is called the pre-heaven or Xian Tian Ba Gua. Okay, this is a separate topic. It's called I Ching. Okay, we don't have to talk about it, but then now this arrangement of this Xian Tian Ba Gua or the pre-heaven 8 tri will later on be changed to the post-heaven by Duke Zhou, when he was like editing or putting together the I Ching. Now, so that means the I Ching already existed even during the time of the Zhou dynasty, which is roughly 2,000 years later. So anyway, okay. Now this discovery is considered to have been the origin of also calligraphy. He started using pictures to describe what the trigrams mean. Get it? So that's the starting, picture, okay. Calligraphy. It's calligraphy, okay. Okay, now after all that, okay, he's also in the Tao responsible for the post of the Tao transmission, right? Remember, like today during the white era, we have holy teacher, right? During the red era, we have Jiang Taigong, okay, and then during the green era, Fuxi. So Fuxi is kind of unusual in that not only we see became the first patriarch of the beginning of the green era, right? But he is also the Tao transmission post-Tao. So he wore two hats. Okay, he had like two jobs or two responsibilities. Okay, so that's the interesting thing about Fuxi. All right. Okay, next. This is another Senlong. Okay, now he's also called the divine farmer or agricultural god, sometimes known as Yan Di or Red Emperor. Okay, all right. Yan means red. Okay, Di means emperor or king. Okay, yeah, his name can translate as, you can say, divine farmer. Sen means divine or holy or god-like. Okay, farmer. Okay. And he lived, roughly around this period. Okay, it's a big gap. It's a 100-year gap, 80-something year, no, a couple 100-year gap. So it depends on the source. Okay, whatever historical source. Now, according to some traditions, they say he was related to the Yellow Emperor, which will be his. He'll be like the ancestor of the Yellow Emperor. Now, what's well known is he taught people how to perform agriculture or farming. Or not just farming, you can say domestication of animals too. Like cattle, lamb, horses, chickens, etc. Whatever. Okay, so he was known that, and he's also credited with the inventions of various farming implements, such as the hoe, the plowshare, axe. You know that? Yeah, roughly during this period. My God, that's pretty early. Okay, so we're talking about 4,000 plus years ago. All right, almost 5,000 years ago. Okay. He also started agricultural irrigation and using wells, digging wells, for farming and for daily use, and also how to preserve, store seeds. Yeah, very interesting. All right. So, also he was supposedly inventor of the rural calendar or the farming calendar. Okay, which we call today is called the lunar calendar. Okay, which is different from the farming calendar, by the way. Okay, it's a luni-solar calendar because it's both based on the lunar cycle or the moon phases, and also the time of the solar year. Like, for example, the winter solstice, the spring equinox, the summer. They have 24 terms. There are 24 terms. Okay, anyway, 24 solar terms. All right. So supposedly he's credited with that invention. Okay, at the beginning of that. So that proves that, at that period, they're pretty advanced in astronomy. Yeah. Because you have to observe, right? The lunar phases, the solar cycle, etc., etc. Okay, so it's like not similar period with the Stonehenge. Stonehenge, supposedly those ancient Neolithic people in England today, erected those big stone tablets roughly 3,000 years before Christ, almost 5,000 years ago. Interesting, huh? And also there are other parts of the world that they have, okay, it doesn't matter. But it's very interesting that how, a lot of different cultures at different parts of the world, roughly the same time, develop their own advancements. Pretty interesting, roughly, huh? Okay, anyway, all right. Also, he was credited, now this is the big one, introduction of acupuncture and, moxibustion techniques. You know what that is? Yeah, like, what's his name? Mark Phillip, or what is his name? The swimmer, what's his name? Michael Phelps. Phelps, yeah, right. He was using that. He had the. Yeah. They say it worked. Yeah, I gotta try once. I don't know, whatever. It didn't work. All right, and then he also refined the theoretic understanding of taking pulse. Yeah, that's like the very cornerstone of Chinese medicine, which is doctors don't use a stethoscope like we do today, but they can feel your pulse. Now, this pulse is not just your heartbeat. It includes many different things, okay? So anyway, supposedly he started that. Wow, very ancient, okay? All right. He also instituted the harvest Thanksgiving ceremony. Yeah. So, supposedly the Mid-Autumn Festival can be traced back to this period. Oh my God. Because Mid-Autumn is the harvest festival. So a lot of cultures, ancient cultures, also have similar, okay? The Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Hindus, okay? And, ancient, Neolithic tribes in Europe, etc., or Africa, all over, okay? So very similar. He also, this is very important, okay, established the use of herbal drugs and medicine plants. Yeah, started. So that's why he's venerated as the founder of traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. Get it? Okay, and it's also his most well-known work on the medical value of plants and herbs that is attributed to him is called the Divine Farmer's Herb Root Classic, first compiled during the end of the Western Han Dynasty, which is the earliest Chinese pharmacopoeia, which is basically list of drugs, list of medicines or drugs. Or it's like a pharmacy. Yeah, like means pharmacy. How do you prescribe drugs? The recipe for drugs, basically. That's what a pharmacopoeia is. Listed some 365 medicines derived from all these different sources, minerals, plants, and animals. You believe that? So supposedly, Shenlong started all that. Okay? Very interesting, man. Okay. He's also credited with identification of hundreds of medical and poisonous herbs by personally tasting them or testing them on him. Yeah. And suppose that's how he died, supposedly on one of them when he died. Yeah. But and he also credited with the accidental discovery of tea, supposedly, which he discovered to be an antidote against some poisonous effects of some 70 different herbs or poisonous herbs. Yeah. Now, the story of the discovery of tea is very interesting. Now, there are different times. Some people attribute to another guy, another person. But anyway, at a later period. But supposedly, when he was testing some herbs or plants or whatever, and he was boiling water, okay, in a big pot. And supposedly, nearby, there was a branch of leaves. Happened to be a tea plant, okay, tea bush, okay, whatever plant. And the leaves were burnt already, okay? And something fell off and landed into that pot of boiling water. And then he tasted it. Goes, hey, this is tea. So supposedly that's the story. Okay, it's a very lovely story, but supposedly that it's a cute story. But that's how he discovered it. Okay, supposedly. So it's a very interesting story. So it's Ty, what's that term for discovery by accident? There's a term. Damn it. You know what I'm talking about. Jeez. There's a group of singers called that too. Jeez. It's called, that term meaning you discovered something by accident without really searching for it. There's a term for it, but that doesn't matter. A lot of scientific advances were based on discoveries happened during that time too. Like, okay. All right. Like the discovery of antibiotics. No, there's a word for it, okay? Yeah, Ty, you know what it is? It's at the tip of, It's an accidental discovery, yeah. Okay, anyway, so that's what happened, okay? So now, and then he was also the second patriarch of Tao. For around 140 years he lived, okay? Now, he obviously got the Tao from Fuxi because their time overlap, okay? Roughly this period and this period, okay? So there's an overlap, okay? Roughly 2952. Okay, so there's roughly, I think there's an overlap. No, there's no overlap. There's an overlap, sorry. Yeah, because this is when he lived from here for roughly 200 years, so to 2752, okay, or 2800, all right? Okay, all right. Okay, so, yeah, it's called, what is that, right? Okay, then the third, I don't have time to, okay. Shen Yuan, okay, it's, his better term is, his better nomenclature is called the Yellow Emperor. Okay? Okay? All right? We call him Huang Di. Literally, Huang means yellow. Di means king or emperor. But his actual name is called Shen Yuan. Okay? All right, so he lived around this according to traditional sources. Okay? And he reigned roughly this period. Okay? According to the tradition. Okay? Now, Huang Di had many discoveries or credits, okay, achievements, okay, supposedly. Some of which, okay, so now, during those times, there were still nomadic hunters, okay? So he taught, well, there are different tribes. Shenlong is one tribe, okay? Shenlong is also a name, not just a name of a person, but it's also a name attributed to his tribe or clan. Okay. Now Huangdi is a different tribe. Okay. Came right down. So he taught them how to build shelters and houses. Whoa. So you don't have to live in trees or caves. Okay. And also how to tame, domesticate wild animals. Whoa. And to grow the 5 grains. Yeah, you know that? Yeah. So it's, I mean, the list of 5 grains varies, but it's you generally considered to be millet, barley, wheat, rice, and different beans. Some soybean, Akusia bean, or whatever. That different things. Okay. Usually that. Okay. It's the list varies. Okay. And so because they're considered staple crops of agriculture. So really with yellow, even though it started by Shenlong, okay, the farming, with the farming tools and techniques, but this is a further advancement. Started planting different types of grains. Get it? The 5 grains, okay? So even rice, wow, way back, okay? Wheat, okay? All right. Now that's in agriculture. Now, other invention. He's also credited with the invention of carts, such as chariots, boats, and non-animal garments, meaning cloth material like cotton. As more well known, his wife, or principal wife, was credited with inventing. Anybody know what sericulture is? No. Sericulture means is the culture of raising silkworms to use their silk cocoon. To take the silk from the silk cocoons. Okay, it's called sericulture. Okay, anybody know that? I didn't know that. Okay, anyway. All right, and also he taught people how to weave silk and use it as a garment and how to dye clothes. My God, they knew how to make dyes. Yeah. Okay, so it's pretty sophisticated. Okay, so it's no longer one color. It's many colors. Okay, clothes. Okay, so yeah, supposedly he did that. So other inventions, he invented the royal crown. I don't know, the throne rooms. Bow sling, yeah, bow and arrow. Even it's kind of weird because they say even a lot of ancient cultures have even previous to that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Early Chinese astronomy, the more advanced lunar calendar, mathematics, weights and measure, code of sound laws, or it's basically bamboo pitch pipe used for music. Wow, a lot of diverse stuff. Okay, also he's considered partially responsible for the invention of the Guqing zither, according to some. Okay, he also developed a south-pointing chariot. It's like a primitive version of compass. Now, it's not a real compass. It's just a method of... Later on, supposedly, one of his generals discovered the lodestone. That's much later. I think that's much later. Not his generals. Some other dynasty. I forgot. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So it's a primitive version of a compass. Okay? It's a lodestone. He used this in war in one of his battles, okay, supposedly, and that's how he was able to navigate in the dark or something like that and defeat his enemies or something like that. So anyway, all right, he also invented this. Whoa, Soo-Ji, Soo-Ji. It literally means to kick a ball. Literally in Chinese, it means to kick a ball. Yeah, kick a ball. Literally, kickball. It's kickball. So that's an early Chinese version of football. As a matter of fact, FIFA. Anybody know who FIFA is? They're like the international official sanctioning body, right? Of soccer. What we call soccer, they call it football. Okay. They recognize. They agree. They recognize that. Yeah, the Chinese invented this kickball. Like almost 4,000 years ago or whatever, 3,500 years ago. Yeah, so the Chinese invented soccer, guys. One of the most popular sports in the world, probably the most popular sport in the world. Yeah, the Chinese invented, supposedly, I don't know. Yeah, the later in the Han Dynasty, they have manuals or book describing the different form of games based on Soo-Ji. Yeah, they have a net. Yeah, they said they can't use their arms. They can touch the ball with any part of their body except their arms. Yeah, which is like football, soccer. They have to kick into a net. First, it was not a net. It was like a hole with a net or something. I don't know, whatever. Then later on, they set posts, which is like the goal, whatever. So it's very interesting. Okay, weird, huh? I didn't know that. That was news to me. He also devised. Also, he was responsible for convince his court historian Chang Jie to develop the calligraphy system, the formal system, okay? He formalized it, okay? Because before, everybody was drawing different pictures, okay? So now he kind of like formalizes, this picture represents this, and that's it, only this picture, or something like that, or calligraphy, okay? All right. He also devised the land distribution method based on the well-field system. It's called the Jing Tian. Yeah, Jing Tian. Yeah. If the Chinese character for well, Jing, Tian is a rice field, okay? It basically represents like on a map, dividing up the land into 9 squares. Okay, that's the character, okay? Which the central square, the middle one, is the common one, the common land, common harvest area, which is supposed to be given to the feudal lord or to the whatever. The other eight plots are for the private farmers' use. Get it? Okay, so that's supposedly, so that's the basis of future feudal land distribution system. Okay, so he developed that. All right, so very interesting. So now also he's considered to be the ancestor of the Han people. Yeah, I mean that's what they call Huangdi. Yeah, that's his tribe. Okay, and also one interesting story is that this is not well known. This is not found in a lot of historical texts, but in only the Tao. They say he sought out 71 Mingsi, this distinguished master, before he was able to attain Tao. So only on his 72nd distinguished master that he was able to discover the Tao. Yeah, learn about the Tao. You know that? Yeah. So back then there were already distinguished masters, 71. My God. So that means, hey, it must, their level of at least philosophy must be pretty advanced. Supposedly. Now this is what the Tao lineage said. Okay, that the lineage of Tao tradition has him saying that, okay? That he sought out 71 different masters. You know that? Only on the 72nd was able he received the Tao. Yeah, pretty interesting. So he did not receive the Tao from Sun Long, supposedly, from somebody else. I don't know, okay? Then after attaining the Tao, he became the 3rd patriarch of Tao for the Green for roughly 100 years. Okay? So something like that. All right. Now that's called the 3 sovereigns. Now let's go to the next following, which is called the 5 emperors, Wu Di, okay? They're the group of 5 emperors, because back then, even the notion of emperors is not very established, okay? They're just considered rulers, okay? So they ruled after the 3 sovereigns, and these 5 emperors were considered to be, believe it or not, ancestors of the future founders of these next 3 dynasties. You know that? Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So they're related to the future, but these 3 dynasties cover a period of almost 2,000 plus years. Okay, very interesting. All right. So anyway, so these 5 were the future, the ancestors of these future founders. Okay, of those dynasties. So the first one, there's very little known about him. Xiao Hao or Shen Xiao. Okay. He supposedly reigned around this, according to most different sources, roughly, this period, 2,600 years ago. Some people say he's considered a son of the Yellow Emperor. We're not so sure. Some sources cite him as that. Another legend has shown that he's the great nephew of the emperor and was son of a weaver goddess. I have no idea what that is. Very mythological, okay? All right? Supposedly he reigned for this many years, okay, after this, so, roughly, okay? And he also is credited by some to have introduced China the 25-string lute. I never heard of that. 25-string. That's pretty. A lute is it's like a cello. Nah, not cello. It's big. It's smaller than a cello. It's like a guitar. Smaller than a guitar. Whatever. Yeah, 25-string. Anyway. And also he became the 4th patriarch. We don't know how he got it. There are a lot of unknowns. They say a lot of people, we don't know if he got it from Yellow Emperor. He might if he was a descendant or whatever. Okay, so we don't know. All right. So he became the 4th patriarch, nevertheless. Okay, in the Green era. All right. Now let's go to the next one. The next emperor is called Xuan Xu or Gao Yang. Okay, that's another name. Okay, he supposedly lived around this time frame. So he followed immediately right after him. Okay, roughly. So they overlapped a little bit. Okay. I think so. Did they? No, they didn't. Yeah, they overlapped a little. No, Is it? Yeah, they overlap a little bit. Okay, so he was the grandson of the Yellow Emperor, according to the account by Sima Qian. Okay, he was the grandson, and he also became an assistant to his uncle. Yeah, Xiao Hao is his uncle by another marriage. I forgot. Okay, so Xiao Hao is related to the Yellow Emperors. I don't know, whatever, removed. I can. Okay, all right. So he was assistant at the age of 10. So he's a pretty smart guy, smart kid. Okay, and he became an emperor around this age. Okay, around this period. All right, roughly, and he reigned for roughly this many years. Okay. Now, what did he do? He contributed to a unified calendar. Okay. Back then, there are different calendars, different type of lunar calendars or solar calendars. He also made advances in astrology, and also he started the religious reforms to oppose shamanism. What's shamanism? Shamanism is like witch doctors. We call witch doctors, whatever. Okay, and he also forbade marriage of close relatives. Whoa, that time, brothers and sisters could get married. I guess I don't know, whatever. It's kind of incest or whatever. But he forbade that. He said, "You guys can't do that anymore. That's not civilized." Okay. Anyway, supposedly, okay. Anyway, he also continued the patriarchal system of society and was credited with composing one of the earliest pieces. I don't know, whatever. Okay, I don't know. According to the bamboo annals, I should underline this. Sorry, I didn't do that. What is it? Okay, all right, okay. I should capitalize this too. Doesn't matter. Okay, anyway. Whatever. Wait, hold on. Sorry. Oops. How do I do this?
This is
okay, sorry. Yeah?
You say answer to the clouds. But I mean, like, you composed the song Answer to the Clouds, but did the clouds really ask a question?
I have no idea. Guys. Okay, so anyway. I mean, it's who knows, okay? This is all ancient history, okay? Okay. And he became the 5th patriarch, okay? All right, the Tao in the green area. Now let's go to the next one. Emperor Ku, or Gao Xin. He's also called sometimes a white emperor. Very interesting. So he had the white, the yellow, the red, whatever. Maybe there was a black. Who knows? Let's see. What's the 5 colors? There's what's considered a 5 colors? Green. The green emperor. We don't know yet. Okay. So now he is the grandson of Xiao Hao. So who is him? Grandson. Who also is the great-grandson of the Yellow Emperor. So they're kind of like related. Now he's credited with inventing this musical instruments such as bells, chimes, drums, flutes, ocarinas. You know what the ocarinas are? They're egg-shaped terracotta wind instruments with a mouthpiece and finger holes. Whoa! So it's like a bone with finger holes and a mouthpiece. Yeah, very interesting. So it's like the first, flutes or clarinets or oboe or God knows what. All right? And also pipes and composer songs. Now here also, according to some tradition, he had 4 sons by 4 different wives, each of whom will become the ancestor of 4 different dynasties in the future. Okay, very interesting. And he became the 6th patriarch. Let's go to the 4th. Time? All right, sorry. Okay, that's it. I'm sorry, but
can we have the outline?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's this emperor, the next emperor. He was the 2nd son of Emperor Ku, which is the second one. The third. Sorry, the third. Yeah. So he's related, but he's also very interesting. He was supposedly credited with inventing the board game of anybody does? Go. Anybody know what Go is? Or Wei Qi. Yeah, he was supposed to be credited with that. Yeah, chess. It's like the chess. It's not Chinese chess. It's a different game. Okay. He was also very moral and intelligent. Okay, he became a role model for future emperors. He was held in high esteem by Confucius at Rome for some, roughly this minute. He is also regarded as the minister of celestial heaven. Ten Guan, right? Ten Guan. He became the 7th patriarch. Okay, a Tao. Then Sun, so Yao passed on the Tao to Sun. Okay, so Sun served under Yao as minister of instruction first, then general regulator and chief of the four peaks, which just means the land. Okay, he was appointed by Yao to succeed him at the age of 30, and he established different ceremonial laws and all that. He was also originator of symphony music, Chinese symphony music. Okay, he was known for his modesty and filial piety to his parents, as well as his farming skills. Okay, he was glorified by Confucius for his this. Okay, he appointed Gun, the father of Yi, later on. Okay, the task of controlling the floods. Now this Gun built dams. The dikes to stop, but the dikes collapsed, so he failed. So instead, Sun then appointed his son, or Yu, as the minister of works to control the floods, who started digging irrigation canal, and that became successful. Get it? To control the floods. Yeah, very interesting. So he later appointed, because of his Yun's success, he became the prime minister. Okay, and Sun considered, Sun considered his son as unworthy and picked Yu as his successor, who then started officially the first dynastic rule by establishing the Xia dynasty. Roughly, this period is different. Some people have a 2000. Some people say 2400. So roughly 2200. Okay, BC. He was also regarded, Sun, as the minister of the earth, Di Guan. Okay, and he's the 8th patriarch. Okay, so these are the 8. Okay, now so the Xia dynasty is the official dynastic rule, meaning that they pass on the throne to their hereditary sons. Previously, they didn't. If you notice here, it's either appointment or distant grandson or whatever. Okay, so it's very interesting. All right, so that's it. A lot of information, but it's pretty interesting, right? So this is not everything. Okay, so now I know because of time, I have to. Sorry for giving a lot, but a lot of good information. There are a lot of things that maybe I have not said correctly. I beg the Buddha's forgiveness. Thank you.